You know that feeling, right? You walk out of a meeting or you finish a massive project and you just feel this sting, this sense of frustration that you can't quite put your finger on. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into one of the most common, but also most invisible sources of pain we all feel at work. And it turns out the problem is rarely what actually happened, it's what we thought was going to happen.
I mean, that just hits you, doesn't it? It's such a simple but powerful idea. So much of our professional suffering, it doesn't come from a specific email or a decision. It comes from the gap between that event and the story we were telling ourselves in our own heads about how it should have played out.
Okay, so let's really dig into that. The real source of the hurt. We're going to uncover how we end up suffering from these ideas and expectations that, a lot of the time, were never even said out loud.
This is the million-dollar question you have to ask yourself. That promotion you were eyeing, the public praise for your project, that moment you thought your boss would have your back? If you're being totally honest, was it ever actually promised? Or was it an expectation that you yourself built up? Because the pain we feel, it usually isn't from the event. It's from the shock that things didn't go the way we assumed they would.
Now, if any of this is starting to sound a little too familiar, don't worry. You are so not alone. In fact, welcome to the club. It's this shared experience of disappointment that, honestly, tons of professionals feel, but almost nobody ever talks about.
So let's get specific, right? I want you to just think for a second. Have you ever felt that quiet little sting of being let down at work? It probably looks something like this. See? I mean, these are classics. You're annoyed about the meeting because you felt you deserved to be there. You're frustrated about the project because you thought your hard work merited a shout-out. You felt hurt because you assumed your manager would step in. In every single one of these, the hurt comes from an unspoken, unvoiced assumption.
And all of this leads us to what we could call the Club of the Silently Offended. It's this unofficial, totally invisible group that we all join the minute we start collecting these little psychic wounds at work. And it's a club that is fueled entirely by unspoken expectations. The membership dues, they're paid in frustration.
And this is the inner monologue. This is the soundtrack of the club. I expected more. I thought it was my turn. I really thought they'd have my back. The more we replay these tapes in our own minds, without ever saying a word, the further we drift from reality. And honestly, the further we drift from our colleagues.
So it becomes pretty clear that the real problem isn't the event itself. No, it's the gap. It's that empty space between what actually happens and what we believe should happen. This whole conflict really just boils down to two things fighting against each other.
This is it right here. This is the whole battle. On one side, you have reality. It's just what happened, an objective event. And on the other side, you have your expectation, which is a subjective story, a hope that, let's be real, existed only inside your head. It was never shared, it was never negotiated, it was never agreed upon.
And that gap, that is where all the frustration and the resentment and the hurt decides to move in and set up shop. It's a space we create ourselves. But here's the good news. If we're the ones who create it, we're also the ones who can close it.
All right, so how do we do it? How do we officially resign from the Club of the Silently Offended? Well, we have to shift our entire mindset. We have to go from being this passive person who just gets hurt to being an active, engaged communicator. It really all boils down to this one powerful, simple command. Stop assuming. Stop assuming people know what you want, what you need, or what you expect of them. And start asking. Start clarifying. This is, without a doubt, the single biggest shift you can possibly make. So here's your toolkit, a practical 5-step plan. First, just ask for what you need. Instead of stewing about it, just say, hey, I'd really like to be included in that meeting. It can change everything. Second, check yourself. Are you expecting a level of praise from your boss that you don't even give yourself? Good question. Third, remember they're human. Your colleagues, your manager, they have their own deadlines and pressures. It's not always about you. Next, manage your feelings. It's totally okay to feel disappointed. It's not okay to let that feeling curdle into passive-aggressive behavior. And finally, build your own value. Focus on doing such great work that it's undeniable, instead of just hoping someone gives you a gold star. Okay, let's wrap this up with a little reality check. It's a crucial, mature, and maybe a little tough to hear truth about our professional lives. Look, this is a hard pill to swallow, but it is so essential. Your workplace is filled with busy people who are all juggling their own stuff. Nobody there is paid to read your mind or instinctively soothe your feelings. They just aren't. And your boss is not your mom or dad.
At the end of the day, this is what real professional maturity looks like. True resilience comes from owning your communication.
It's about building the habit of not getting offended by something that was never actually on the table to begin with.
And that brings us to the end. I'm just going to leave you with this one question to think about. Look back on your own career. What is one unspoken expectation you had to finally let go of so you could move forward, become more resilient, and keep on growing? Answering that for yourself, well, that's the first real step out of the club.